Okay, sure. No, I'm. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're bringing the meeting of the Chuckey Meadows Water Authority to start Wednesday, September 18th, 2024, at 10 a.m. And I welcome everyone to the meeting. Let me just start by a roll call, if you will, Madam Clerk.
Anderson.
Here.
Andriola.
Present.
Breckes. Breckes will be joining via Zoom. She's not there yet.
And do we have the Zoom up? I'm not sure from this view.
We have Zoom up, but it's on another screen.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Dare.
Here.
Dewar.
Here.
Hill. Here. Reese.
Here.
Thank you. Reese is joining virtually. Zimmerman.
Here.
Kabelia. Here. We have a quorum, and I will note when Member Breckes joins the meeting. Thank you.
All right, we are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to call on Mr. Hawk, if you'd lead us.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. All right, thank you so much. And our next item is public comment, and as usual, we'll have our clerk read the disclosure about how to participate.
Thank you. No, I'm sorry. I don't have a microphone, so if I read it without a microphone, then you can't hear it on the recording.
Okay.
Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. No action may be taken on a matter raised under public comment that is not included on the agenda. The chair may prohibit comment if the content of the comments is a topic that is not relevant to or within the authority of TMWA, or if the content is willfully disruptive of the meeting by being slanderous, offensive, inflammatory, or amounting to personal attacks or interfering with the rights of the board of the directors, TMWA staff, or meeting participants. Any person making willfully disruptive remarks may be removed from the room and barred from attending the remainder of the meeting. Thank you.
And then, don't you want to also read the access number too?
It's on the agenda.
Okay. All right, and it's a long, we always read it at Reno, and it's a very long thing, but
Yes,
it's,
it's on the agenda, it's on the website.
Okay.
It's publicly noticed.
okay, very good. All right, well, with that said, once you get your seat again, Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Okay, well, I have one slip here, but let me just make sure if there is anyone else who'd like to make a public comment, just please fill out the white slip. And then if there's anyone on Zoom that wants to make public comment, just raise your hand in the Zoom feature and we'll call on you. So the first public comment I have is from Mr. Jonathan Rouse. Mr. Rouse? Okay, all right, welcome, Mr. Rouse.
How you doing?
Glad to see you. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too. My name is Jonathan Rouse. Starting a little timer here.
Do you want to sit down, or
Yeah, I can sit down. That's fine.
it's easier to get to the mic?
Yes, it is. You can hear me clearly. I've worked for TMWA for 28 years and 10 months. Tomorrow's my last day at TMWA. I regret it. I wish things were different with TMWA. I'm not the face of TMWA, and I'm not the voice of TMWA, but I'm the heart and soul of TMWA. I'm the person who was out there when you had water leaks, fixing them when it's freezing cold. I'm the person that treated your water. I'm the person that made TMWA. Back in, when we started in 2001, I worked for the power company. I promoted this company to become public because I thought it was best. I went out and made sure it was done. When you guys decided to sell TMWA back in the day, I went to the radio, I went to TV, I went different things and say, hey, let's keep this local, let's keep TMWA local. Let's do what's right for TMWA. Like I say, I love TMWA. It's been great to me. My wife and I we've always been, fighting for justice. And we see something wrong, we bring it up. And a lot of times people don't like that. But I believe in my heart and soul, if I don't say something about it, it's not right. We've saw, the first year we had Juneteenth, everybody got it off. Employees, every employee. Second year, it was applied to us that only management was going to get it off. My wife and I were upset about it. We went to the board. We talked to Naomi. We talked to Breckus. I think he'll talk to my wife. And we got management to change that. Ever since then, which my whole career, I've never been written up once for no problem with being with TMWA. Never. And all of a sudden, I find myself getting written up 3 times, and I'm looking on the outside with no chance to fight, because if I fight, I lose my retirement. I love TMWA. I'm just asking the board to do an investigation for it. If it comes out to my wrongdoing, then it comes out to my wrongdoing. I will accept that. But this is my last ditch thing to the board. And if, like I say, I love TMWA and I want the best for TMWA. And I hope you can listen to me and maybe consider that. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Rouse, for being here. Appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Okay. All right. And Madam Clerk, is there any other public comment?
No, anybody on Zoom, raise your hand or press star 9 to unmute yourself.
So if you didn't hear that on Zoom, raise your hand or press star 9 if you're on a phone.
Thank you. No public comment.
All right. All right. Well, thank you. We'll close out public comment now and turn on to item 4, possible board comments or acknowledgements. And I thank Mr. Dare for starting this part of our agenda. But does anyone like to make a comment, acknowledgement, thank you, praise this month? Okay. I think we just want to say we're generally very grateful for the work that TMWA does every single day. So, Mr. Anderson.
I want to give a shout out to all the crews that were working during the fire. It was a crazy time for everyone, and I just want to say thank you to all of them that were ready and prepared to do whatever it took to make sure the firefighters, everyone was secure with the water. So thank you for all of them.
Well, that's a very important comment, and I know I was in pretty frequent communication with our director, and his big concern was when we lost power, being able to pump and provide water to everyone, and that I know the staff were running around delivering generators. And Mr. Zimmerman, would you like to comment?
Yeah, just real quickly, there was a lot of staff involved, and I thank everybody. I appreciate the board's comment. There's one staff person who was an incident commander from the beginning, who's back up in the corner right, trying to hide from everybody. Eric Mothershed. He was heavily involved in that effort.
Yeah. I know communication was challenging during that time, and I know that people were very grateful for all of the responders, including often the unknown, such as MV Energy or, in our case, TMWA. These are services that must go on, and you guys did a tremendous job flawlessly, really did. No one lost water. They lost power, but they didn't lose water. So thank you so much. Yeah. All right, well, we'll move on to item 5, which is approval of the agenda, and I'm looking for a motion.
So moved. Second.
All right, motion from Member Hill, second from Member Dare. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. And we're moving on to approval of the minutes of August 19, 2024. And I'm looking for first any comments or changes recommended for the minutes. All right, hearing none, looking for a motion.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All right, so in this case, we have Ms. Andriola making the motion, Ms. Hill seconding. Are there any comments again on the minutes or this motion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Mr. Reese. Any opposed? All right, motion is passed unanimously. And we're moving on to item 7, which is presentation of our fiscal year 2024 unaudited financial performance. Mr. Bowman.
right, good morning, members of the board. Matt Bowman, TMWA CFO for the record. This is a non-action item, just a quarterly update of our financials. This is looking at the full fiscal year 2024, and as Madam Chair said, this is unaudited, so our audit is underway, and we don't expect any changes, but there always could be until they issue that audit opinion. This is the same report you're used to looking at. I'll start at the top. So overall, it was a pretty good year, especially when you compare to last year where we had a couple different things going on. We had significantly lower revenue last year and significantly higher operating expenses. This year was a little more of normal operations, I would call it. And so the high level that you'll see on the first page is that we actually ended up in total change in net position within 1% of budget. There's some ups and downs in there, so it's a little coincidental, but overall, a pretty unsurprising year, which is always good. I'll dive into the details a little bit, first starting with operating revenues, which is on the second page. You can see in total, our total operating revenues were about $1 million less than budget, or about 1%. And if you go to the top line there, you can see water sales was $2.7 million, or 2% lower than budget. So if you'll recall, we started the year way lower than budget, and that was a result of the prior winters, precipitation into the spring, cool weathers. So the first quarter of the fiscal year, we didn't see the irrigation that we normally do. And so we actually started 8% lower that first quarter. And then through the first half of the year, we were 7% lower, about $4.6 million lower in water sales. We ended the year $2.7 million lower, or 2%. So we made up 9% in the fourth quarter, quarter over quarter. So it was more of a normal type of an operating quarter. It was warmer, drier, people watered. There was enough resource, so people were watering. I'll point out too, the second line, hydroelectric sales, we set a record for the year. So $4.2 million in hydro sales. So kudos to that team for keeping the plants online and really did a phenomenal job keeping them running. We'll go to the next page, which is operating expenses. So to start, we're about $4 million lower than budget, or 3%. Salaries and wages about $1 million lower than budget. Most of that's due to vacancies. Employee benefits, you can see about $2.4 million higher than budget, and that's a result of really the increase that PERS had in their contribution rates, which was about a 12% increase last July, and so that hit us during the year. And so that's a pretty substantial increase there. Part of that is non-cash because we have to value the PERS expense based on kind of an actuarial analysis, but part of it is the contributions that have increased as well. The third line in that section is services and supplies, and you can see here it's really the tale of 2 years, where last year, like I said, we had significant services and supplies increases, primarily in electric power and water treatment chemicals. This year we were able to budget for that. On the electric power, we actually came in very close to budget, so there wasn't any big surprises there, which was great. On the chemical side, we were quite a bit lower than budget, and part of that was lower prices on the chemicals, but also lower usage. So we had better less turbidity in the river, and then also more efficient operations. So Will Raymond's team has done a great job really kind of dialing in the efficient use of water treatment chemicals, and we've started to see that there. So $6.5 million lower than budget on services and supplies. We'll go to the next page. Next section of the income statement is non-operating expenses. And you can see here we're about $2.5 million better than budget, I would say, lower non-operating expenses. And just there's a lot going on here, but to kind of point out the big thing, $7.2 million increase in fair value of investments. That's a result of market rates decreasing, although the Fed is in 45 minutes, I think they're going to announce what they're doing with that rates. The market rates, they dropped quite a bit right towards the end of the calendar year, so the investments we were holding got a bump in value, and that's what you see there, that $7 million. That's offset by a loss or a lower investment earnings, which is actual realized earnings. And that's lower because when we did our cash optimization, we had to liquidate some of the existing losses, which turned into realized losses. So that loss is recognized this year, although over 2 years, we should actually make that up because the proceeds from those 2024 bonds are invested at higher rates than what we liquidated. And so that loss will actually be offset in the next 2 years. And then the third line, gain loss on disposal of assets. I just want to point out here, we're a higher loss than budgeted, and that's due to 2 projects that were written off during the year. We had the Spring Creek Well 9 project, which was written off, and then also HR payroll implementation project, which were both written off. So those start as a capital project, and then we write them off to expense. The HR payroll project, we're kind of restarting, and we expect to have that implemented in the next year or 2. Last in that section, just interest expense, I'll point out, lower than budget because of the cash optimization refinancing, almost $900,000 lower there, and we'll see that going forward. Last section of the income statement on the next page, capital contributions. In total, $5.3 million lower than budget. A lot going on here. I'll start at the top with grants. We received $9.5 million from the Nevada Water Conservation Infrastructure Initiative for our AMI project.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that's great. That wasn't budgeted for, as you can tell, and that's why we have a $6.7 million variance there, and that's fantastic. Kind of making our way down, we had lower developer infrastructure contributions. There were some larger projects last year, which kind of feed into the budget, and we just didn't have the volume or the large projects come through, and those are built by developers dedicated to TMWA, so those are non-cash items. We had developer capital contributions, other, which is kind of in the middle there, that's $6 million. There's a couple large projects. Those are direct payments from developers to TMWA. So it's a little different than our WSF fees, which are collected over time. And 2 larger projects this year, and we don't budget for those because we don't want to count on that cash coming through. We often don't know when those projects are going to come to be, but we had 2 large ones there, Centerra Quilisi BPS and Ascente BPS, which was about $5.6 million of that 6. And then the last line, contributions from other governments, that's lower. That line reflects, it's a reflection of American Flat. And so as American Flat moves forward, we spend money on the project, City of Reno reimburses us. And so the project is not moving as forward as quickly as we had budgeted. It is moving forward, but we're behind on the revenue collection and the capital spending on that project. And then lastly, capital spending this year, $72.1 million. You can see the 3 large projects that we spent money on this year, and total cash and investments, $187.8 million at the end of the year. So again, takeaways, kind of a normal year from a water revenue standpoint. Services and supplies came back into kind of normal operations, and we'll be working on the funding plan, and you'll see that next month.
All right. Great report. Thank you so much. I have 2 quick questions, and we'll open it to the rest of the board. I think it was on page 3, and you mentioned about bonds, and I thought you said that the interest from the bonds was higher. Is that what you said?
So, yeah, it's, I think, probably page 4 where I was talking about a couple things related to the bonds. So we did a cash optimization financing. We defeased some existing bonds that were higher rate, and then we turned around and then issued new bonds. We issued those at a lower rate. The net return on that transaction was about $12 million.
So I thought that was worth, I didn't recall you mentioning $12 million, but I think I just wanted to compliment you for that action. I mean, those are decisions you make on a day-to-day basis, and the fact that you took the opportunity to defease the bonds and reissue them at these low rates is something that is commendable, and I didn't want to go unnoticed, seriously.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to ask about was let's see, I had it circled here. The grant that came in, which as I understand, TMWA got a third of a $30 million grant from the federal government, and I think that was from the infrastructure section of the, is that correct?
Well, so the I think you're referring to the EPA title, or the, Bureau of Reclamation Title 16.
Correct.
Grant. So that's not recognized in here. But yes, the American Flat Project will receive $30 million, and TMWA's share of that project is 30%, including any grant proceeds. So the benefit to TMWA is
About 10 million.
Yeah.
So what is this 9.6? I guess I might have misunderstood.
Yeah, sure. So that's the Nevada Water Conservation Infrastructure Initiative. And so that was $100 million for the state of Nevada that was allocated out to various things. I think a percentage of it went to buying back water rights, and then there were portions of it that were provided for infrastructure.
Okay, and we got 9.6.
9.5. I think, or did we? Yeah, 9.5.
Okay.
We had a little bit
Of something
grant
else.
proceeds in there. Yep.
Yeah. So then we will recognize this other 10 million in the next year's budget because it came
Yes,
after
we're
July
working-
30.
Yeah, we're
or
working
July
on the
1.
contract, actually, working on the actual award contract with the Bureau of Reclamation.
Okay, well, another good year, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
these are high numbers for federal grants for
Yeah.
us, I think. Let me ask any other comments from the board, sitting here at the podium? Yeah, Ms. Andriola?
Given the FMOC is, I don't know how much time they're going to meet. What are we down, 10 minutes or something? They're going to be meeting soon. Is there anything that you see, we don't know what's going to happen, although there's a lot of speculation that it's going
Yeah.
to be very favorable.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're hearing. And I'm wondering if there is anything with that action, if it does become favorable, if there's anything in terms of, for instance, the great job that the chair actually gave you recognition, and I'll echo that. Is there anything that you see that might be possible as you are looking forward for those opportunities that you might be thinking about, that you might want to share with us? I know it's
Yeah.
speculative,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, no, whether they, lower by 50 basis points, 25 basis points, that won't really move the needle for us on much immediately, but any lowering of those rates resulting in lower market rates. And fortunately for TMWA, we have a very high credit rating, and so when we go to market, we're going to get pretty good a rate when we go to issue bonds. And so we're always going to be looking at opportunities to refund bonds when we can. We'll have our 2015 bonds are going to be refundable in 2025, and then 2016 will be in 2026. And so if rates continue to come down at that point, it likely will make sense for us to refund, take advantage of a lower rate, and manage our debt service. So something we're always paying attention to, talking to our financial advisors
You're doing
about.
so well on these bonds, we should get you to bond for our soccer fields, But anyway.
Good opportunity.
Exactly. Well, thank you for the comments. Anyone else? Yeah, Ms. Hill.
As we move into our new building and all of the expenses that will come into that, I know that will be built into our next budget, and looking forward to having those discussions. In addition, with salaries and wages going up, are we kind of looking at all these pieces for the next fiscal year and seeing how we can make sure we can do everything for everyone, as we all want to do at this board?
Yeah, that's always, you want to do everything for everybody, but there's a financial constraint.
Sure.
And so, yeah, we're working on our funding plan right now. You'll see that actually next month, where
Okay.
we'll project out over 5, and then I even kind of look at 10 years too, just to
Great.
see where things are going. And we're going to look at capital, we're going to look at wages, headcount, working with leadership in the company to determine what's the right staffing levels, where are the needs, what can we afford to do without putting more burden on ratepayers. And so that's something that we'll talk in a lot more detail next month as we present the funding plan.
Great, looking forward to it, and great work, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone? How about online? I know we have a few members online on
No,
Zoom.
thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Okay, nothing, Mr. Reese, no? And, right, and Member Breckus, nothing? She said no. All right, well, thank you, excellent report. I do think this coming year is going to be a little challenging for budgeting. At least I know back at our home jurisdictions, we're anticipating a good year this year, but maybe some challenges next year, especially as Ms. Hill mentioned with employee costs. We're getting really struggling at Reno. We've signed some pretty hefty contracts. I know the county did too. I'm not as knowledgeable elsewhere, but I know that will impact capital expenditures and so on. So
Yep.
All right, looking forward to those conversations. Okay, all right, well, we'll close out this item. I don't think you needed action from us, is that correct? Okay. And then we have a communication from Ide Bailey regarding our annual financial audit, and is that, who will be speaking on that? Mr. Zim, oh, hi.
That's me. Good morning.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Sophie Cardinal, TMWA's financial controller. So yes, the item I've brought before you today is a required communication from Ide Bailey, our financial statement auditing firm. The letter is pretty straightforward. It states that they're auditing our financials for the year ended June 30th, 2024. It outlines their responsibilities and it details the scope of their engagement. It's very standard language. There is one noteworthy thing this year, though. The audit mentions that Ide Bailey will conduct a single audit. A single audit basically involves extra testing, and is required since TMWA is reporting more than $750,000 of federal grant funds. Matt stole my line earlier, but that really is because of that $9.5 million grant award that we received for the Advanced Meter Infrastructure Project. So this letter is presented to the board every year as information only, so action is not needed today, but I'm happy to report that field work starts this upcoming Monday, and we're feeling ready for it. And that's it.
Okay,
Does anyone have any questions for me?
all right. Anyone on the board? Okay, so what is the period of the audit?
Goes from July 1st of 2023 to June 30th of 2024, what we call our fiscal year 24.
Yeah, so the year that we've just completed.
That's correct.
And then how long will it take for them to complete that?
So they actually started preliminary audit work back in July-ish, and then field work starts this upcoming Monday, like I said, for about 2 weeks, but they probably won't issue their report until the end of November.
End of November, okay.
So I'll be bringing it back to the board in December.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't think this is an action item, but any other final comments? How about online, on the Zoom? All right, not hearing any, so we'll close out item 8. Thank you for being here, Ms. Cardinal.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move to item 9, which is about resolution number 329, which is designed to approve funding for projects recommended by the Truckee River Fund Advisory Committee. I always look forward to this every year. Well, they come up with such amazing, interesting projects. And so we have Sonia Folsom and Karis Steelen here with us today. Take it away.
Morning, Chair, Board of Directors, Sonia Folsom for the record. The Truckee River Fund Advisory Committee met on August 16th to review the fall cycle of RFPs. TMWA funded the Truckee River Fund $550,000 for FY25. Less administrative costs, only $521,223.50 were available for funding. The fall cycle is the first round of funding for FY25. There's a spring cycle in February as well. There were 6 RFPs submitted, 3 were approved. The 3 that were approved were Sierra Nevada Journeys Watershed Education Initiative. It's been a successful program for many years, and they have received feedback from teachers to make it a little bit more time management. So it was 3 years. They reduced it to 3 days. They reduced it to 2 days to increase enrollment, and that makes it easier for the teachers. The One Truckee River, number 295, was approved to continue and lead coordinated efforts for the Truckee River in the One Truckee River river-friendly living practices and efforts to protect the Truckee River. And the last one was the Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful, their fall's cleanup, and then their spring cleanup as well, to remove litter and invasive weeds along the Truckee River and provide education. The 3 that were not approved are also included in your packet. High level, Green Vibe World requested funding to continue and scale stewardship, restoration, and cleanup efforts focused on directly benefiting the Truckee River watershed. Their program is a little unique because they can get on private property, and they have a partner agreement with the Truckee River Flood Management Authority. The committee acknowledged the value of the program, but requested them to return with a more scaled-down proposal. As well as the Tahoe Rim Trail Association, they returned with the same RFP program for doggy litter bags around the Tahoe Rim Trail. That was also requested, that was also denied and requested to return with a more narrowed focus to address points, locations that directly impacted the Lake Tahoe and Truckee River tributaries. And the last one was the Reno Food Systems. Funding was requested to implement a sustainable agricultural practice, including a 5-acre urban farm in Reno to reduce sediment erosion and nutrient runoff that would benefit Alum Creek and the Truckee River. Again, the committee requested they return with a more specific RFP for consideration in the spring. And with that, we'll answer any questions.
Thank you, very helpful. I have one question. So there's the two funding cycles, the fall and the spring. Do they make a conscious effort to reserve half of the money, or does that come into play?
They do make a conscious effort of trying not to fund everything in the fall.
In the first round?
Correct, especially with the Green Vibe, their ask was quite large. That was in their RFP attached to the staff report. It was over $200,000. And so if everything was funded, there would be nothing left for the spring cycle.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, questions from the board? Mr. Zimmerman.
Just one comment, Madam Chair. Sonia, can you speak to, with Green Vibe World, staff also reached out to them just to kind of guide them through the next application process?
Yes, thank you. So Green Vibe, the chair and Truckee River Fund staff and TMWA staff spoke with the requesters to have a more synthesized RFP so that it would not be rejected if they were to return, and answer their questions about why it was not approved. And we have Chair Jim Smitherman here if you have further questions for him.
So Jim is chair of what?
Truckee River Fund Advisory Committee.
Oh, okay, of the committee.
Of the committee, yes.
Okay, but when you said synthesized, what does that mean?
So let me pull up the.
But in other words, it was very big.
It was a
and it's
very big
dollar.
ask, and it was a very big dollar amount. It was very large. They were asking, what they were asking for was not outrageous. It was just a lot.
Okay.
And so Cara can.
Yeah.
Cara Steele for the record. And they also asked for a little bit more specificity on actual locations for cleanups and how they were going to promote additional collaboration and relationships with, other entities like Reno Police Department and others, so they can come in and do those cleanups along the river. So there were some details that the advisory committee felt like could be added to the proposal for future consideration.
So other comments from the board?
Yeah, Jim, I do want to say thank you. I know you, your team and everything that happens there. This is fantastic that we get to reach out in the community and support what's there. I personally think if the more we can support our community and what they do, it's better for everybody. But I do appreciate, I'll use the word synthesizing, just because that's our word for today, of making sure that these things are fitting. And so I just celebrate working with them, but then also helping guide them that they fit into the mold of what we're looking for. So that's a fantastic, good job.
Yeah, like I said, we always appreciate, we look forward to these presentations because they're a little out of our normal operating scope, and it's a way to really expand our reach from TMWA into preventative measures, the stuff you're doing upstream, for example, Cara. It all fits together and helps have cleaner water enter into our system and reduce our operating costs, really. Down here, any comments on this so far? Thoughts? How about on Zoom? Any members want to comment on what we've been proposed? And again, was that no? This is.
That's a yes from Councilmember Reese.
Yes.
Oh, you would, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. And I wanted to just say thank you to the advisory team and all the work they put into it. I wanted to also thank Green Vibe World, because I think ultimately you have allowed them the opportunity to make a proposal, and perhaps that proposal overshot the mark But I think given that you have allowed them the opportunity to know where their shortcomings were, they'll come back stronger than ever. It's a very interesting organization. What they essentially do is harness the power of folks who are out in the river environment, either in the waters or along the shores, to work to clean up those river environments. And so they do some great cleanups. I've had the opportunity to work with them. I also will say that this summer, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, along with Walmart and the City of Reno, through our sustainability initiatives, found the opportunity to award Green Vibe World a smaller grant, much smaller, to continue their work. So they're a great operator. They'll have some work ahead of them to, sort of understand the ways in which these kind of funding sources can be made available to organizations like them. But ultimately, I'll hope they will come back and that they'll be in a position to be awarded an award maybe in the future.
Okay, super. Ms. Andriola?
I just had a quick question. How do you advertise this availability that, just curious how
So-
that is out in the public, how that is advertised?
Well,
or
the Truckee
promoted?
River Fund is housed under the Community Foundation of Northern
Oh, okay.
Nevada.
Okay.
And Lauren Renda is the program manager for that. And she, it's on the website, and she has an email list that is sent out. And it's, it's promoted to forward it to anybody who may be interested.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Comments? And again, the Truckee River Fund, chaired by Mr. Smitherman, they make recommendations to us, right? I mean, we have to actually make the award, is that correct?
That is how the agreement is drafted right now.
Right.
yes.
So I just wanted to acknowledge one word you said, which was they awarded. And really, they're recommending award, and then we're actually making the award here. So I just wanted to clarify that. So given that, and there's no more questions, would someone like to make a motion either to support the recommendation from Truckee River Fund Group or make an amendment?
I'll move to approve.
Okay.
And I can second.
Okay. All right, so I have a motion from Ms. Andriola and a second from Mr. Dare. And then are there any comments on the motion or additional thoughts before we vote? All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. All right, thank you so much again for the work. I know a lot goes into this, Mr. Smitherman. It's a lot of thought, so thank you. Okay. All right, we will move on to item 10, which is presentation of the general manager goal results for the last contract year, 2023-2024. Over to you, Mr. Zimmerman.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. So very exciting times. There's a lot to cover today. I'm not going to cover all of it. A lot of it's in the board packet, but just for background, I think for newer board members, we have two sets of goals at TMWA. One set are the general manager goals, another set are the TMWA goals. So today I'll be talking about the general manager goal results from the prior year. In October, we'll bring forward the general manager goals for the next fiscal year, along with the TMWA goal results and TMWA goals for the future. So just to set the stage for October. And even though these are called general manager goals, they're a team effort. It's, as you can see from the goals, it takes the entire team to make all these things come to fruition. So just for that context, again, I'm not going to cover everything, but please interrupt me. Let me know if you have any questions. As far as adding goals, you can mention that today. I think this is slated for non-action, but you can give me your input. We can formulate those for the general manager goals for next year that we'll present in October. Even if after this meeting you have goals you'd like to include, you can include those in October. We can make those part of the official action then, so you're not going to miss out if you think of something after today. So I'll just go through the goals. The first goals are the general objectives. So starting on page 1 with goal A, it's essentially the board directive to me is to make TMWA stay financially stable. And thanks to Matt Bowman and his team and really all the management team, that's what we've accomplished over the last year again. And I think that just goes to making our water system as reliable as possible. Two points there. The rate plan that Mr. Bowman and his team proposed to this board and that the board adopted, I think is essential to keeping us on that financial stability going forward, including the CPI level increases after year, I think starting in the 4th year of that rate increase schedule. Those all come back to the board for review and analysis every year and for approval. And then also the cash optimization. I think that was a huge effort. I think myself, when we first heard about this opportunity, I was a bit skeptical. And I think Mr. Bowman, put together a great team, both inside and outside of TMWA, to really see it through. And we were fortunate with the outcome. And that's a huge savings to TMWA. And then goals B and C, that's essentially communicate effectively, be aware with what's going on in the community, be involved in the community. I try to be very involved in a lot of the local leadership meetings. All of the staff, the leadership team, we're heavily involved in the community. We have a community presence focusing on our water leadership platform, and a lot of that goes to Robert Charpentier, Cami Luray, and Andy Gebhardt, who have just focused us on that since we became TMWA. Goal E, the next page there, just talks about continuous improvement. Again, Matt kind of stole my thunder with hydroelectric revenue, having a record year. That takes a lot of work with Ryan Dixon, Chris Hires, Cam Schultz on the hydro side. Bill Hauk has been instrumental in working with that team on river operations and river flows to optimize when we can use our hydros. So that's a big accomplishment. As Matt also mentioned, Will Raymond, who you've all gone on tours with Chalk Bluff, the level of professionalism, experience, and know-how that Will and his team bring to the table. They have really worked hard, as they do every year, but this year in using a different treatment technology, different chemical, to really save on chemical treatment costs, which we don't have any control on the type of water coming down the river with turbidity, but we control how we can treat it, and he's done a great job. So a lot of kudos to Will and his team. They're literally there 24/7, 365. And then also with just, a smaller matter, but something that we put on the board report, Marcy Westlake heads up the customer service team. It's our paperless billing. I think we're up to about 43% of our customers are on paperless, and that's an annual savings of almost $500,000. So it's a small, not a small matter, but it adds up, and it's continuing to add up. So a lot of kudos to Marcy and her team. And then moving on to page 3, it goes into operational objectives, a few more specific goal results here. The $30 million for American Flat, I can't stress enough how big that was for that project. A lot of work with Cara Steelen and Steph Morrison putting together that grant application. And then, Dave Deagle, who's in the audience, Lydia Teal, Angel LaCroix, they're still doing a lot of work to put that project and bring it to fruition, working with our partners at the City of Reno. And then goal F, minimize cost impacts to customers. Mr. Bowman talked about the $50 million 1% financing through the state of Nevada, also for the American Flat project, and a $6 million principal forgiveness is part of that. And so Matt and his team worked tirelessly to find these little nuggets, to find these resources just to help TMWA and that project be as feasible as possible. And then also the service line warranty program. With the board's support, we've promoted that. We've had it as part of our materials, even though it's nothing we ourselves do. But there are 11,000 customers signed up to date, and the repair jobs that they've done add up to about $427,000. So I think our customers are seeing the benefit of that and appreciate the board's support in going forward with that. On page 4, going into the specific objectives with goal 2, just the One Water Nevada, the regional water management platform. I think 2 things that I want to talk about here are the settlements that TMWA staff got with the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe on just how do we manage the return flow rights that are subject to not only just existing reclaim usage that was already occurring, but then also the reclaimed water that is headed out to Tri-Gid. And so, again, Steph Morris and Gordon DePoli, our outside legal counsel, did a tremendous job on that. Nate Allen, John Enlow, Eddie Quaglieri, again, working with the tribe. And really, by going through that, we've really fostered teamwork with the tribe, and we continue to talk with them on any other ways we can help optimize and become better partners on the river. And then also with our state lobbyist, Leo Drozdoff, he's helped us tremendously just with going through all the different regulatory, not just with the interim and the session and kind of the normal policy making, law making, but also with American Flat on helping us go through NDEP with operator certification for that plant when it's up and running, and numerous other things. So I can't thank Leo enough. Goal 3, it's about fringe development and smaller water systems. Two smaller water systems to mention there, or one small water system is River Oak in the Verdi area. They have reached out to TMWA staff and also to Member Hill. We've worked with them, talked with them a little bit. It's an antiquated system with some issues on water quality and other things. It's going through a PUC process because they're governed by that entity. And so we continue to talk with them, monitor what's happening, and also Chair Doer, Member Hill, and myself will meet with that River Oak HOA again at the end of this month. Great Basin Water Company is one they're not a small water company, but they have a small system in Spanish Springs and also Cold Springs. And so we continue to talk with them about how we can kind of effectively manage our water resources just to optimize the resource for the entire region. And we'll continue to do that. I think our board directive on that is, to simply hear them out, listen to them, work with them, spend staff time in trying to evaluate and come up with the best options. And so we'll continue to do that. Goal 4 is about the interim legislative work. This interim session's been very busy. And in order to get ahead of that, we've scheduled a legislative subcommittee meeting of the TMWA board for early November. The current legislative subcommittee is Chair Doer, Member Anderson, and Member Hill. We'll also come back forward in December with an official reappointment for that committee. But right now, those are the committee members. And then goal 9, kind of near and dear to my heart, about employee development and succession planning. We've done a tremendous amount of work on this, and I can't thank members of my management team, Jessica Atkinson, for doing a lot of legwork on this. The one significant investment we did this year was we hired Diaz Dixon, who many of you know from the community, to come and talk with every single employee in smaller groups, and really we called them workshops because we wanted them to be a dialogue. And the title of the workshop was Belonging and Beyond. My purpose was to make sure, our purpose was to make sure that employees knew how to communicate better, knew how to understand their fellow coworkers, just so we can be a better organization. But it was also to get different groups talking to each other that you may have never seen another employee because they're at Glendale or Chalk Bluff or at some other reporting location. And so I think that was important. And we got a tremendous amount of positive feedback from our employees. But again, that was significant because you're talking about 7 or 8 specific workshops with Diaz and our management team, along with all the groups of 40 employees. And so, again, significant time investment, but it's money well spent on our employees and kind of that employee development as we go into the future. We also continue, as I said in prior years, to have all employee meetings where we do a 30-minute segment, approximately, just to highlight a teamwork example of what like the Davis fire, for example, the team coming together on that, just so employees see what we do, the good work we do, the collaboration, and also get to hear from other employees in the organization that, again, they've never seen or never heard what they do. We also have continued quarterly lunch and learns, where we take one specific group or department and have them explain to the entire company what they do, why it's important to this community in providing quality drinking water. And again, it's just that awareness and making sure employees are communicating. Along with that, we do job shadowing still, tours of our major TMWA facilities, and we've also involved the board in trying to have, the board is a partner and part and parcel of TMWA, and we've tried to have board members, and I thank you for the board members that came out, and thanks to Will Raymond for walking everyone through the Chalk Bluff treatment plant, our largest and most important treatment plant. And then on to succession planning. That's a never-ending job. It's been very busy this year. We've replaced John Enlow with Nate Allen. We've brought in and filled the position of Assistant General Manager with Danny Rotter. We've also created the Director of Technology position with Sean Feeney. And so we're doing all these things just preparatory for some things that are happening in the world, like cybersecurity, but also just to create some redundancy within TMWA so we have stability going forward and really create that bench strength. We're also starting to look at and starting to develop a formal emerging leader program, and not just train supervisors or mentor supervisors, but open it up to any employee who really wants to become a leader within TMWA. Whether they want to lead people or lead a project, we want to give them the tools to enable them to be as successful as possible. So we're starting that leadership mentoring program, trying to make it more formal, because as TMWA gets larger and larger, we have to start formalizing some of these internal practices. We've been good in the past about hiring good people, mentoring them, but we're just making it a little more formal. Again, I continue to take employees out to lunch as often as I can, probably every other week, just to get to know them a little better, thank them for what they're doing, and get a pulse on, what they think is going on. And then also just change management. We have a lot of different processes, a lot of different people in new people in existing positions, some new positions. And so we have an internal expert on change management who we've kind of tapped to give the management team a little bit of an overview of what change management looks like and how to step through that. And so we'll keep that at the forefront of our mind as we go forward with these processes, just so we don't get, as one of our managers put it, kind of change fatigue as we go forward with these, because we're all trying to do this to make TMWA as efficient as possible, but it's a lot of work and a lot of change. Goal 13, drought resiliency, watershed protection. Nate Allen and Cara Steeland have done just a phenomenal job on working with our upstream partners on wildfire protection mitigation. As part of the upcoming water resource plan and more meetings we'll have about that, Cara and Nate will talk to you about what that looks like and what that plan looks like and TMWA's role in that going forward. But as you can see with the Davis fire, the Verdi fire, I mean, these are critical to maintaining TMWA stability and reliability. And then also, Bill Houck continues to slug forward with the forecast informed reservoir operation. That's a very long, arduous project. Bill's working with a lot of other government agencies and stakeholders, but we continue to kind of push that forward, and we look forward to when we can kind of finally tie that one off. And then also AMI, advanced meter infrastructure. We're at, I think, Andy, over 100,000 AMI meters in the ground with about 38,000 or so to go. So I want to give a huge shout out to Amanda Filet and her field and meter services crew. She works tirelessly every day, working with the contractor to put those meters in the ground. And they've really done a phenomenal job. And I think that'll go help us with conservation. It'll help customers have more real-time data once, all those meters are in the ground, and we have more of a customer portal to allow them to see what their usage is, and it'll just make us smarter with our water use. And then lastly, I just want to thank Dave Kershaw for the water facility plan. That was goal 15. That was an incredible amount of work, a lot of data work, a lot of numbers, which I as an attorney hate at that granular of a level. But Dave and Danny backed him up and was leading him on the project, but Dave put in a ton of time on that along with his staff. And that water facility plan leads into the water system fees, which those all go towards making TMWA as stable and reliable as our customers, the board, and ourselves have come to expect. And with that, Chair Doer, I'm happy to answer any questions and talk about future goals. Like I said,
What I have to say as well, that was an incredibly impressive rendition of just trying to get my mind around all of the things that you're working on, and it was great to have this recap, frankly, and to understand the things you've been working on. So I just have a huge thank you. I know you'll hear more details from the board and next month, on we're an agency of continuous improvement, right? Never satisfied with what we've done yesterday, always trying to do better. But let me open it up for comments and questions about this. And I see Mr. Dare reaching for his mic, so.
I just, one of the things that I think leadership does, at least the kind of leadership that I want in place, is they really use their team, and they talk about their team. We understand that there's a leader that helps direct, that helps stand with you, that helps give you the courage to do all the things you do, and someone's standing by you. So really, I just want to say, it's an honor. We actually see a lot of this in place, but we also see how you lead and how you care. And I think it's constant. I do think it makes TMWA continue a place that people want to be. I really appreciate the we in what you talk about and not just the I. And so I just encourage you to keep running forward on what I see. And these are some big lifts that you as a team are doing. So good job.
thank you.
Other comments, board members? Mr. Anderson?
Kind of echo Member Dare there. I do believe that being a good manager is a lot easier when you've got good employees. And truly, I just want to say all of you are making him look good. And I want to say thank you for the work you all are doing. And we realize, yes, you've got the one-off events like a fire or something like that, but it's the day-to-day grind and, you know, all of these objectives that we just heard that you guys are helping him to achieve. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. Well done.
Ms. Hill?
Thank you, and great work. I think also just spelling out how you're trying to meet board priorities with your staff. And I started writing down staff names of people who I'm so appreciative of, and then I'm like, I'm appreciative of everyone on your staff. I think they're just dedicated to the work, dedicated to service, dedicated to being out in the community. I've never seen TMWA so much in the community. I'm so impressed. You were even at the Lake Tahoe Summit, and I think it just shows that we're out there, we're wanting to be transparent about what we're doing, and also we're really wanting to show the community about how incredible this organization is. So thank you for leading that commitment and dedication. I really appreciate it. And I love the employee work and development, and you committed to this board that you would work on that. And so thank you for seeing that through. And the fact that you're trying to meet with every employee, I don't know any other director in the region that's doing that. So thank you. I know you're not done because it's a large organization.
Lots of salads.
Yeah, you're eating a lot of salads. Good for you. And then thank you for continuing to check in on River Oak and seeing what TMWA can do to support when that's not necessarily your role yet, but you understand how important it is that you're out front in that and showing the community that you care. And I loved that workshop we did. And I just want to give you and the team a lot of appreciation for your work on, I know those take a lot of work and time, so I didn't get to really say that during the workshop, but I think it shows that you're trying to also involve the board and the community in your efforts and your planning, so thank you.
Ms. Andriola?
Well, just in the interest of time, just echo all the comments, but I do also want to add the fact that the dexterity and flexibility in terms of, even working with trying to help the communities that sometimes have misinformation have factual information. And I'm specifically talking about, in my district, TMWA really being very, very fact-based, but also listening to how you can disseminate that information instead of just saying, this is all it is, and here you go, but it's really that feedback loop, and then addressing that in a professional manner. And I would like to really commend that. It is encompassing of all these, or a lot of these objectives, but I think the fact that it isn't necessarily outlined in your day-to-day, but you're open to making that happen is a commitment to the dedication to the community as a whole. So I do want to thank everybody for their involvement in that, and the fact that you were willing to, even on a moment's notice, I say you, but some of the people in the room too that were in that meeting, some of those meetings are not easy. They're not easy, and we know that. But I think the fact of the professionalism, I can't even find the appropriate words to use where there's so much emotion, and because there's so much misinformation, and how that's handled is really a testament to your commitment to not only the community, but to TMWA's position professionally, and being essentially a customer service organization that also has a huge responsibility of the most important resource we have, which is water. And so I really want to take that extra time to thank everyone in that capacity, because I'm sure there'll be wonderful opportunities coming up that may, again, raise its head. And I just want to make sure that you're recognized for that as well. I do appreciate a staff involvement. I think that to Member Hill's point, I don't know anyone that has ever done that. And how many employees are there? How many lunches are you talking here and salads?
We have
I'm just curious.
About 280, 290 employees, and I'm averaging about 30 to 40 lunches a year.
You know, and I'm guessing you're compiling that
Lots of salad.
information. Lots of salad.
Yes, I am.
I don't know if there's an opportunity, I don't know that we need to drill down to everything, but I think that would be also helpful. I know that HR does a great job, and all of the information you gather from survey and engagement and some things that I've seen even in the short time I've been in this position. But I think that, and maybe you already incorporate some of that feedback, but I do think that that is really a great opportunity to really have a first-hand one-on-one that I don't think so. Kudos to you for doing that. And we'll all have to get your list of best places for salads. I think that's also something you should share since we all have lunch meetings. But thank you so much to the team. Thank you for everything. I am more than honored. We sit on a lot of boards, and I can tell you when I know it's a TMWA meeting, I'm really excited. From the finance to the execution of the field to everyone's commitment to our community cannot be given a higher praise. So thank you all. Thank you all, and thank you for your leadership as well.
Yeah. No, I echo those comments. I mean, it's all, the management team is excellent, the staff, everyone, extremely dedicated. The management team, they're giving their employees, lunch meetings as well to recognize them for huge accomplishments. So it's not just me, it's everyone kind of out there trying to just show appreciation. But thank you to this board. I mean, you give us a lot of trust, and we don't take that for granted. We take that with a very high, treat that very highly. And we know going forward, there's going to be difficult times, challenges, and so it's that relationship and the trust that's important.
And I have some comments too, but I'm going to hold those and invite our members on Zoom if you have any follow-up comments. No? We're good? Okay, I too want to echo the comments. I mean, we're not trying to pile it on, but what we are trying to get across, I think, as a board, is that this agency is recognized in our region as one of the premier agencies, seriously. I mean,
State.
okay, I'll go with that. But I don't serve on all the agencies in the state, but the ones that we participate locally, regionally, we have as a body a feel that TMWA is incredibly well-run. The work that is done at the line level, the mid-management level, the management level, speak volumes, and that is, we have very few complaints, frankly, from our customers. And it just, the work that you do is definitely heads and shoulders above. And you were absolutely right that we look forward to coming. We know we're going to hear great stuff. We're going to learn things when we come to these meetings. But more importantly for this agenda item, it really falls back to you, John. I mean, you are the leader of this group, and how management goes, so rises and falls the organization as a whole. And I think Mr. Dare mentioned too, the level of caring that goes into this is very evident. That you as employees care about each other and you care about your employees, that comes through loud and clear. And that is what I think makes it possible to work. Often when you go to recruit an employee, sure, you're looking at their technical capacity, their training, education, all that. But often there's this undefinable, and it's how well the team gets together. Will this person fit the team? Can they get along with others? Can they work as a team and as well as individually on projects? And I think that over the many years, TMWA's done an excellent job in recruiting staff and retaining staff, giving them what they need to stay here. And your leadership continues to that journey that we had. I joined here 10 years ago, Mr. Foray, and then you are continuing that and actually expanding upon it. When you talk about things like change management, I mean, we began talking with him about succession development very strenuously because we knew that at some point he'd be leaving. We are counting on many years with you. But at some point, everybody leaves, right? I mean, at every level of the organization, people retire, people, move. There's always some level of change in an organization. But you right now are a constant, And you're a very thoughtful, caring leader. And so I think that comes across, and I think that inspires the whole team. So thanks for this summary. We'll actually get into more detail next time, but you've set us up very well to understand, and when it comes to doing your review, we have a much better foundation to do that than just sort of check 6 boxes and on to next week kind of thing. We actually get to do a little bit of a dive and understand what your day-to-day is. It's just astonishing in some ways, though, the amount of things that you all are working on,
Credit to the team.
Seriously. All right, are there any final comments, sort of last call for Zoom? Anyone else here at the podium? All right, well, we've said a lot. Keep up the good work, obviously, and we'll look forward to continuing this conversation. I think today on this item, we're not even accepting your report. We'll take it under advisement for the next stage. So thank you again, Mr. Zimmerman, for you and your team, what you're doing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. So we'll turn next to your actual general manager's report.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. So last March, you might remember Cami Luray talked about getting a grant along with DRI as far as helping improve teacher education with watershed, water resource management. And so I'm happy to say that grant's been awarded. So Cami, along with DRI, will be starting to educate those teachers and get our material into the classrooms. And so I want to thank Cami for all the work she's done. And if she has any comments or if you have any questions for her, she's in the audience.
Okay. Well, I just say I need to get with you, Cami, because I did find out where Project Wet landed. I know you reached out and DEP was no longer the center of activity, but I did find the person. Okay, so I will connect with you on that. Okay.
Thank you. And then one announcement. So Ms. Folsom sent out an invite or an email as far as the Independence Lake Volunteer Cleanup Day. That's on October 11th from 9 to 1 p.m. Board members are welcome to attend. It's a good day and a great location and great work. And we thank our partners with the Nature Conservancy for working with us on that and setting it up. And then again, just getting back to the Davis fire, I kept the chair and the board updated a little bit on what was happening, but there was a ton of work. I mentioned Eric Mothershed, Darren Garland in operations, and Brett Tolman in operations. Those were your 3 incident commanders during this whole, the duration of the fire and the emergency. And I just there's too many to name. Like Member Hill said, there was a lot of people, even on the hydro group, with the generator help and refueling generators and just making sure we were in power, communicating with NV Energy, partnering with them on helping with the communication so we knew when and where potential outages might occur. But just thank them very much. And just for the board to be aware, Mr. Mothershed had employees calling him, the day the fire took off, asking him, can we help? Do you need us? Without us having to call them. So that was just kind of a testament to the type of people that we have working at TMWA. And then last but not least, my right-hand person who's on my left hand, Sonia Folsom, just does a wonderful job, with all these helping shepherd through and kind of help us with putting this all together in this format throughout the year. She's taking a much-needed vacation for a couple weeks, so if you have any questions, direct them through me. But anyway, I wanted to recognize Sonia for all the work she does over the course of the year. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, well, that concludes the general manager's report, and then we're back to public comment. We've already read the disclosure and how to participate. Let me start with, is there any online comment? So *9 if you want to speak, and if you can raise your hand with the raise hand button. Nobody. Okay, and then anyone in the room? I don't have any white cards. No further public comment? Okay. All right, well, with that, we're at finally board comments and requests for future agenda items. Always an interesting one. Anybody? I'm going to make a board comment, and this is, I didn't make it before about your work last year, but recently, myself, Mr. Dare, have had opportunity to work with you on troubleshooting a really confusing leak problem that's taken a lot of staff time. It's very unusual. I just wanted to commend the staff, the conservation staff under Mr. Bill Hawk, what they've been doing to sort of help trace the leak. The City of Sparks staff what they've been doing, going out, looking for, and they have found leaks. So it was an exercise worth doing. But really, your support of this, I often have a phrase, and I think most everybody knows it, that 20% of your activities cause 80% of your work. I'm sure you know that one. Well, this is sort of a 90-10. In other words, this one little problem is generating a lot of work, but I think it's work well done. So bottom line, we have a leak somewhere in Sparks. Some residents are experiencing some flooding. We've been trying to figure out where is this leak coming from. I know Mr. Hawk's team have done, I think, 75 water audits of individual residential properties. That's unheard of. And Mr. Martini over in Sparks has done a lot of troubleshooting, spent weeks of his staff time. They did find leaks, so we're hoping this is all going to come to resolution. But I think even the mains were checked, which is always good to do occasionally. But, it's a mystery still, but it's coming to conclusion. And that conclusion is due to the work primarily that's happening here at TMWA, that you're devoted to finding the answer to these residents' questions. And I really think that also sets a mark for our community, being committed to not just saying, you know what, not our job, it's your fault. I mean, it's your problem. You go fix it, but we have stepped up as a government organization to do the right thing by our residents, and it just has inspired me. So as a board comment, I wanted to say that, and I'll probably go into your next year's evaluation, but thank you for doing it. Any comments or future agenda items that people would like to see? Okay, no, and on Zoom, anything? Breckus, okay, Member Breckus?
Yeah, so when I got my briefing about the Davis fire, my first question, this is based upon just my experience working with smaller utilities, was about water pressure during that, period when they're using the water for other purposes, obviously hooking up to hydrants. And then I did see the next day that there was a request to turn off your irrigation. But that issue brought up another one that I've had for some time now, is what are our water pressure standards and obligations throughout the system? And do we have areas flagged where maybe we have higher or lower pressure? What's the obligation of households to have pressure relief valves if there are high pressures? What's TMWA's obligation if someone experiences high pressure causing damage to their homes, or if they have low pressure concerns? I've been on, I think I'm the oldest, longest standing board member here, and we've never really had a discussion about the system's pressure standards, deficiencies throughout this, throughout. So I would really like that. It wouldn't have to be next meeting, but maybe by the end of the year would be great. Thank you.
Ms. Burgess, thank you for bringing that up. I have been offline talking with our staff too about that issue. I'm so glad you brought it up. And I've related to them. I have extraordinarily high pressure at my house, 120 PSI. Other people, I think I've learned recently, the range is something like 65 to 80, something in there. But we have people that have below and above. And I totally support where you're going with this and think it's a really good avenue for conversation. Okay. So if we could get that on a future agenda, sort of what the expectations are, is there, do we have reports of high or low? What is our role and responsibility in terms of informing residents or businesses about this situation, and so on? I think that would be great.
Will do.
Okay. Anyone else have a suggestion? Okay. Well, hearing none, I guess we are ready for adjournment. So thank you all for being here.